And here we go.
UCF survives the final flurry to knock off Texas A&M.
It is a 3-point lead for Southern Indiana. Meyer. Got it! VJ Edgecombe, my goodness.
Welcome to the game, Joe.
Hello, friends. We are the D1 and Done Pod. This episode brought to you by the official Mountain West SEC correspondent and benefactors of the pod, the Hagen Hall Boys. Make sure you follow us on our social media pages. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can email us, email the show. It is D1ANDDonePod, D1ANDDonePod at gmail.com. You can leave us a like on our Facebook page. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube page. You can also find us on Spotify. By the way, the person that left us a 1-star review on Spotify, we're coming for you, and you're not going to like what's coming. We are no longer a 5-star pod, guys. We are a 4.9-star pod. So it breaks my heart to say we are no longer 5-star prospects on the D1 and Done pod. It hurts. It hurts to my core. But you know what? We soldier on. We'll be a 4-star prospect, and we'll work our way up to being a 5-star pod.
Hey, even Jesus had doubters. Well, it's okay, Bobby.
We've now compared our podcast to Jesus Christ. Fantastic. We're up to a flying start. If this is your first time listening to the pod, welcome in. This is our rapid reaction from the first 3 days of the college basketball season. If you didn't know, I'm Robbie Donahoe. Nick Mills and Dusty Mills are tapped in remotely. Dusty played college basketball at the University of Kentucky and Ball State University. Nick played varsity basketball, and I tapped out pretty quick at JV while playing 6 minutes in varsity. So that is our basketball experience. Dusty has many fond memories of his possibility of eventually going to Rider to be one of their members of their coaching staff. He will tell you all about it at some point, I bet. But anyway, that's all about us. But we have got college basketball. And I got to be honest, the first 72 hours of college hoops have been pretty dang good. And we have had we've had some great games, great finishes. There's been guys that have been watching and I say, wait, that's not the right uniform. And you kind of just got to jog the memory of, oh yeah, they transferred. There are so many of those, so many great talking points. Nick, I want to start with you. My gosh, we are going to start with probably maybe the biggest upset of the entire start of the college basketball season, and that lies with our good pal Kyle Neptune and Villanova.
Before I jump into them, you just talking about all these players on different teams. The first week of college basketball really is like syllabus week, right? Just trying to relearn where everyone is and everything. It's very fun and very frustrating at the same time. But speaking of frustrating, yes, I picked the Villanova Wildcats as the talking point. Robbie, I picked them for 2 reasons. I'll start off with the first one. Villanova right now is in such a interesting spot. Think about it. Villanova, I have it written down here, for basically from 2014 to 2018 was the standard of college basketball.
Yeah.
Okay? They were, in that 5 years span, they're a top 2 seed all 5 years. They were either first or second in the Big Ten. They won the Big Ten 4 to 5 years, second the other year. They won 2 national championships in that span. And even after 18, 19, 21, 22, it falls off a little bit. But still, they won the Big East 2 or 3 years. They have a Final Four in there. They have a Sweet 16 there as well. So essentially for almost a decade, they were the standard for half of it in a top 5 program for the other half of it, right? So truly as great as it gets. And Jay Wright played a modern basketball or a new form of basketball, kind of changed what the Warriors did. So they were Villanova basketball. They were a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
And now we're here. They lost again to open up their season. They lost 90-80. I forgot to write it. Was it Columbia that beat them?
Columbia, yeah. I also want to mention Dusty loves Brown. I think he needs to find a different Ivy League team to support going into the season. How about the Lions of Columbia, huh?
Here's their reward of a Lion gets the Wildcats. So Kyle Neptune, year 3. Here's some of the notable losses in his, 3-4 years. We're 2 years and 1 game in, y'all.
They're impressive.
Here are our losses. In 2022, we've lost to Temple, Portland, DePaul. Not good. 2023, they lost to every Philadelphia school that was not them. Pennsylvania, St. Joe's, Drexel. And this year, Columbia. So that's 2 Ivy League losses in 2 years. And they seem so far away. Kyle Neptune, again, he was Jay Wright's guy. Programs like Duke and UNC, they moved off legends and run on their own, and Shire and Hubert, and that's working out. Nova tried, acting like the Butler basketball, brought one of their own. Jay Wright's handpicked guy. It is just not going well, y'all. They feel so far away, and they've had talent the last couple of years too.
Yes,
and it is just not mattered. And the second reason I want to bring them up, I told you guys, is what this means for the Big East going forward as well. Because the Big East is in such an interesting spot here. Because UConn is now the Nova of the sport, but there's increasingly rumors that they're going to leave for many different reasons. Because it's all about football, right? And I believe they're the only school in the sport that plays football at the moment.
Yes.
We've seen schools like UMass, also lower scale.
Well, Butler plays some good football. Okay, let's show some respect to the Bulldog football team. Yes.
Nova, honestly.
They do. You're right, yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, UConn might leave, and you look at the Big East right now, and some of these scores from night one, I have it written down here. Butler, Providence, Seton Hall, DePaul, and Xavier. They all won, but none by double digits against bye games. They won by an average margin of 2.2 points. Okay? So they're, again, that's not mean much. It's opening night, but still, you get my point, if UConn leaves and the Big East is what it was being the basketball mecca, it could be a real issue going forward for this conference.
It very much could, and that's a great point you bring up, Nick, is the fact that, and you didn't even mention Creighton. Creighton had a really tough time in their season opener against UT Rio Grande Valley. Where I'll talk about Ryan Kalkbrenner's game a little bit later. You heard it in the open. DePaul needed a buzzer beater to go to overtime against Southern Indiana. That's right. USI is now D1, and DePaul, with Chris Holtman, struggled to win their first game against them. So, for all, what'd you say?
Another school.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah, it was an impressive shot. It was like a fall away, lefty three to tie.
And
I didn't see this.
Who was it for Maryland in 2004, I believe? Shot a similar shot in the NCAA tournament in the first round.
Drew Nicholas. That was in Nashville against UNC Wilmington. Yeah, very similar.
Wow, I never heard of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Drew Nicholson.
Drew Nicholas, man, he's a baller. But the Big East is. We went into the season, and the Big East had a lot of hype coming into this season, and I know
and it still could be good.
Very much so. Yes.
It's not a great start, and also another school I've not mentioned, St. John's. Again, looking good, but Rick Pitino's not going to be here forever. He's in the 70s, so that's. Yeah, I'm keeping a close eye on the Big East and now and what the future is going to hold for it.
And I'll bring it back to Kyle Neptune as well. If there was a more mid coach in college basketball history, let me know, because the 3 years under Kyle Neptune that he's been the head coach, he was 16-16 at Fordham. He was 17-17 at Villanova, 18-16 last year. He's 1-1 now. So he went 10-10 the last 2 years each in the Big East. He is literally 500 across the board. You could not be more mid at that point. And I understand you're trying to give guys time and whatnot, but I think it's kind of shown. I'm not sure it's going to work under him. And you mentioned it. Dusty, I don't know if you knew this. Sorry, I'm looking at his Wikipedia page, learning information right now. Kyle Neptune played college basketball at Lehigh under the one and only Billy Taylor.
Wow.
For those that don't know, that was my Ball State basketball coach.
Yep.
An amazing human being.
So, now Dusty has to root for Villanova and Kyle Neptune to be successful because you got that coaching tree under Billy Taylor at that point, which, by the way, Dusty, do you know Billy Taylor's current position?
No, I don't. The last I knew, he was the Dobo at Iowa, and that was probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Well, I'm about to blow your mind again. He's currently the head coach at Elon.
Wow.
And Elon gave UNC a really good game this week.
Mm-hmm.
So could be onto something there with Billy Taylor.
One time Billy Taylor was so mad at us in practice, they made us go to the auxiliary gym where kids were playing open gym on the other courts, and he made us wear our practice jerseys, and he was just making us do chest passes for 20 minutes in front of all the students.
That's fantastic. I love that. All right. Well, hey, Dusty, speaking of you, the freshman class coming into this season had quite a ton of hype. Probably the first freshman class we've had a lot of hype, maybe since the Zion class. Take me into some of those freshmen that had some big games from the first 3 days.
So there were 5 that were very, very impressive. There's about 11 I would say had solid games. Ace, what's his name from Rutgers, is out.
Yeah, Ace Bailey did not play, yes.
Bailey. So the first one, in no particular order, was obviously Cooper Flagg, just because he's the one to talk about. Had 18-7-5 in Duke victory. And for those who haven't seen, poster dunk he had.
Oof.
And we'll get to poster dunks later as well.
Yes.
So impressed by him, obviously, but no surprise there. I mean, this he really is NBA ready. I think I said last time, I think he proved that the way he scrims against the Olympic team. Dylan Harper at Rutgers opened with 20 points.
He looked good, man. He looked really good.
Sorry, IU. Liam McNeely for UConn, 18 points. I mean, if you give them 8 tonight, they're going to scare everyone.
I like him. He's kind of a junkyard dog, do a little bit of everything.
And then I Trey Johnson. That was good. I did not see any of this game, but I didn't realize Trey Johnson for Texas had 29.
Oh my gosh, dude!
And also Ohio State that broke Kevin Durant's freshman record.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, 5 for 10 from 3. Trey Johnson's going to be a problem. The only problem is that Texas has no one else to play with him. Like he's kind of on an island right now, so they're in a really tough spot. I think they might have lost Tremont Mark to a big injury, so that would be a big loss.
Play in that game.
Yeah.
And then I do have one more, but we'll get to him later.
Ooh, little teaser there. I like that. I'll throw a few more at you. Derek Queen from Maryland had 22 points and 20 rebounds in the Terps opener. That was pretty impressive.
Wait, guys, that's what I was going to bring up later.
Oh gosh darn it! I'm so sorry.
Sorry, guys, we're our production meeting today.
I got one.
Well, go for it. Yeah.
This is from Jake Mills, who's been on the pod before. San Francisco freshman Tyrone Riley won them the game the other night, 26 points.
Ooh.
My man had 0 assists with it. So shout Tyrone Riley, the 5th, I believe, or 4th. One of those Roman numerals.
A man after our own heart. 26 points, 0 assists. That's the way to do it right there.
We're back.
I don't even know how you do that. That's crazy. Flory, we got to shout out Flory Badunga, Kokomo, Indiana kid. 13 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks in 17 minutes. He's just going to be that spark off the bench for Kansas. He's basically pogo sticks for legs. He's impressive. Boogie Flan looked pretty solid in his opener for Arkansas. Yeah, exactly. 1 for 8 from 3, though. That's the only thing that was probably the thing that brought him down a little bit. On Con, do you guys know this guy from Duke, Con Knuppel? This dude, I know Cooper Flagg. Con Knuppel?
Oh, the Duke guy.
Yeah.
The white boy.
This guy arguably played better than Cooper Flagg on their opener. He had 22 points and was 8 for 14 from the field. I feel like we are getting into prime Duke territory with all of these young white guys that are just going off. Yep. Feels like we're back in the 90s, which I love. I will throw you 3 more. Asa Newell from Georgia, 26 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks. I know Mike White's Georgia team is supposed to be better, but
I'll talk about them later.
Okay,
they're on my rundown.
They're iffy. VJ Edgecombe, man, I made so much about him. He had probably the highlight of the week, but he only had 4.7 rebounds, 2 for 11 from the field. Not great. And then for all the hype that Bryson Tucker came in for IU, 2 points, 2 rebounds. Now that's going to be the only well, not true. That might be one of the only bad things I say about IU after their first game on this pod was the Bryson Tucker performance was a little underwhelming. But outside of that, IU looked good. So we will talk more about those freshmen and those teams a little bit later. But what I wanted to get to, the current national championship odds. Do you guys know who currently has the best odds to win the national championship right now?
I'll go UConn.
Okay, UConn is second. Kansas is third. Currently, Duke has the best odds to win the national championship at plus 900.
That's white privilege.
Yeah, it is.
Shocking, right?
Especially this week.
Oh, gosh. Well, let's try not to get political here, okay? So Duke currently has the best odds. I was shocked that Alabama had worse odds than Kansas. Alabama is currently plus 1,200. Gonzaga plus 1,600. Maybe that's even more surprising. Was Gonzaga that far behind the rest of the pack? Houston also at plus 1,600. Auburn and North Carolina are plus 2,500. Why is Arizona plus 3,000 ahead of like Creighton and St. John's and IU? That doesn't make any sense.
Caleb Love, Robbie, ever heard of him?
I have, and I'll keep my opinion to myself on that. But Arkansas, what I love the best out of this, Arkansas and Kentucky currently have the same odds at plus 3,000 to win the national championship.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that great?
That's awesome.
Almost poetic at that point. So, safe to say, it's still completely wide open. We have no idea how everything is going to shake out, and I'm fascinated to see how these top teams continue to move forward. Really, the only top team that lost was Texas A&M, and they lost a game at UCF that was just a cluster of a game that was all over the place. Well, Texas did too. Texas lost to get to Ohio State, so it was kind of it was a pretty good week for the Big Ten. Not so good for the Big 12. I know Texas is in the SEC now.
Yeah, so the Lone Star State.
Yeah, Lone Star State as a whole.
Baylor, Texas A&M.
Yeah, not so great. So those are our big talking points from the first 3 days. But Nick, I want to throw it over to you for what was your surprising result from the first 3 days? I think we just gave you a little teaser on who you thought was the most surprising from that first 3 days.
Yeah, and this may not even qualify as most surprising, but I thought it was maybe the most interesting was UCF beat Texas A&M. I think it's just mostly because kind of like the way they did. Okay, for people didn't see, A&M was up 60 or 56-45 with 6:25 to play.
Yeah,
so up 11 in complete control, and then UCF didn't go on some big run. It kind of just slowly chipped away, and then Wade Taylor was 4-15 from the field, 4-11 from three, so he did not hit a shot inside the 3-point arc. And UCF even have Mikey Williams, which you'll know a troubled, I think it's a polite way of putting it.
Yes.
Freshman, a lot of high praise who didn't even play. He has a shoe on. And A&M at the end, if no one saw it, you can tell UCF they're up down 3 with like a couple seconds to play. UCF did not foul. You could tell they're kind of scared of the foul, the 3-point shot.
They didn't know what to do. They were so scared.
They did not know what to do. A&M got like 3 legit looks off.
They did.
And none of them fell. So I just felt like it was interesting. Like Bill Self and others talk about this. Like apparently UCF's the team. A lot of people think like the sneaky team in the Big 12 this year. So I guess big opening win for Johnny Dawkins in is it the Golden Knights?
They're the Knights now. They used to be Golden Knights, but it's more just Knights now. I will say UCF is sneaky at home. I don't think they're not a great road team, and they kind of showed it last year a little bit. So we'll see how they do in the Big 12 when the road games come around. But the two things that jumped out at me from that game was Darius Johnson going for 24 points for UCF. He had a great game, and then Wade Taylor actually did not lead his team in points. That may be the only time that happens this year. Pharrell Payne had 15, Wade Taylor had 13. I'm not sure that'll ever happen again for the rest of the year. And Wade Taylor only took 15 shots. Like we were talking about 20 to 30 a game for him. What's he doing?
You gotta get the rust off, Robbie.
I guess.
You can't come out of gate shooting 37 shots.
Yeah.
You got to ease your way in.
Ease your way in. Dusty, what was your surprising result from the first 72 hours?
I mean, this one's a lazy one. It's Baylor.
Yeah.
Just that game. I mean, it's a rematch. They played, everyone knows, the 2021 national title. Played again the 2022 Peacock Classic, and I think Baylor handled them a bit in that one. For the Zaga side, it's the largest win ever for its top 10 team. I couldn't give her the out-rebounded, I think it was 46-32 is what I saw earlier.
45-32, yeah.
And given a 24-4 run in the second half in a game where you got to come out swinging with that. But my favorite part about that game is an exciting, we'll touch on this later too. Baylor plays Arkansas next.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Baylor did not lay low on the early season schedule whatsoever.
No.
Which, can I say on that real quick, with like A&M losing, Baylor losing, I'm really afraid this is going to scare other coaches off from doing this in coming years.
Okay, the reason I'll disagree is that anytime this first loss of the season occurs, I believe it was the 2005 North Carolina, 05 national title team with Sean May and them. They lost their first game of the season, I think either against Santa Clara or St. Mary's that year.
Oh, wow.
And everyone was like, oh my gosh, they're overrated to sell. And then went, oh no. 35-2 the rest of the way
I
or
was gonna
whatever
say,
it was.
yeah, they didn't lose very many games that year.
No.
Oh, well, yeah. So maybe hope that's a precedent. Maybe that's what Scott Drew seeing. He said, "Oh, hey, look at all these guys continuing to win in North Carolina from that 05 season. Let's do the same thing."
We should note too. Me and Dusty were high on Gonzaga, and you were high on Baylor. And I think it's an open and shut case. I think we're the winners.
One game, it's over. It's done.
We're declared winners.
We have decided.
Look at us, Dusty. Shout out.
I will say, Khalif battle for Gonzaga. Whoa. That's a kind of player that I don't think Gonzaga has really ever had, is that kind of shot creator that can also get to the rim. They've always had really good slashing guards, but not like those quick twitch kind of guards. And he's kind of, I feel like he's kind of breaking the mold of what Mark Few has had there. So that Gonzaga team, man, they just look old, experienced. Offensively, they were just a juggernaut. 57% for the field. Yeah, balance. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players score 9 or more in the game. That's and one of those was not Ryan Nembhard, which is even crazier. So Gonzaga made a statement in that game. That scoreline is completely indicative of how much of a blowout it was. Baylor did not look good. And that was a big win for Gonzaga. That was one of the games that I was surprised by. The other one that I was surprised by, and this is probably a little bit more off the radar, not necessarily a game between two powerhouses. I was shocked at how badly Auburn beat Vermont. That game was not close. That's a Vermont team that wins the America East every single year. They give teams a game almost every time they're in the tournament. And my gosh, Auburn just blitzed them from the word go in that game. And Janai Broome only had 12 points. The dude that went off was Miles Kelly. He had 21, 7 for 9 from 3. That's a dude that was at Georgia Tech last year, came over to Auburn, and holy smokes, that dude can fill it up. J.B. Pequise had a decent game, but wasn't crazy. Chad Baker-Mazzaro had a good game. It's almost as if I'm not sure Auburn has... I know a ton of people want to give Janai Broome his flowers, and he's the dude. Auburn feels like they just have a bunch of guys that, and one can go off, and then another one's just going to play the Robin role, and they're fine with it. And that's kind of what scares me about Auburn is they are a supremely volatile team where I think they can beat Vermont by 50. And then, so their next game they play Houston coming up on Saturday. That is going to be a tasty matchup. They also, Auburn's early season schedule is awesome. They play Houston, Iowa State, Duke, Ohio State. They also play Purdue in December. It is a awesome schedule in the non-conference for Auburn. So we're going to learn pretty quick if this Auburn team is legit and for real, because there's a lot of people that think that they could be a potential Final Four team. I actually had them pretty far back on my preseason top 25, but I will certainly be proven wrong if that's the case. So what are your guys' thoughts on Auburn?
I got nothing else to add on that, Robbie. They just blitzed them from the start. I had them higher than my rankings than you did.
Yeah.
And like you said, they have so many guys who can go off any night. But like you said, they're volatile too. So they're a very interesting team to watch. You pretty much hit the nail on the head for me.
I mean, it was. Yeah. Go ahead, Dusty.
I was just going to say, I just love that Bruce Pearl had the corniest pregame hype video for the student section, and I am all for it. So if you can check that out.
Shocking. So in Auburn, last year was the first time they lost in the first round in 8 years, I think. They'd won their first round game 8 straight years, and that was the first time they did it to Yale. So maybe they were going to come out with a vengeance. Usually those teams that lose that first round game the next year, they bounce back in a big way if they have got a good team returning. So this is the next segment. I want to call it the Wagon Jalopy segment, where you tell me your team that was a wagon in the first 72 hours and the team that was a jalopy, a team that was terrible, awful, no good, that you had higher expectations before. I'll just basically put mine to start. Alabama looks like a real deal team. I know it's UNC Asheville, but that's a UNC Asheville team that almost is always in the running to make the tournament. And Alabama, a team that lives and dies by the three, only shot 18 threes in the game and still won by freaking 56. So, Holy Lord. Like, Alabama is nasty and sick. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players score 9 or more, and Mark Sears had 20, and he only shot it 8 times. So, good luck trying to defend this Alabama team. And Grant Nelson only played 15 minutes in the game. So, good luck stopping this Alabama team. I'm scared if I have to run into them. All right, Nick, over to you. Your wagon from the first 72 hours.
I have 2. One, actual one bonus. I'll start with just beginning coming to Alabama, just simple. Houston, they took care of business. They just came out, and I believe it was Jackson State.
Mm-hmm.
They led 42-8 at the under 4 timeout, or maybe not the under. It was 3:37 to play. They won by 57. I mean, they just suffocated them. They do what Houston does.
Yep.
Not much more to add to that. So they're going to be very, very good. The real bonus, the team I want to add, is Grambling State women's basketball.
What?
Mr. Robbie. They played Centralia. I don't know what the school is. Grambling State women's basketball. Get this. This is the halftime score. They led 91-9 over this poor basketball team.
What?
I'm not sure I've ever seen a score. 91-9 was the halftime score. So shout out Grambling. They did hang on to win the basketball game too. So shout out to them.
Do you know the final score?
I should have found it. Let me pull it up for you.
I got it. It's 131-30. They beat Centenary out of Louisiana by 101 points.
Hey, that's taking care of business, Robbie. That's like sweet one for your girls in the first game of the season.
That's crazy. Grambling had a player that went 10 for 10 from the field and scored 24 points.
That's efficiency. The basketball nerds can't hate that one at all.
Man, that's
what does the Centennial coach say at halftime? Dead honestly,
91-9. So Dusty will remember this. We had a JV game at Anderson Highland one time.
Correct.
What were we up? 42-4 at the half of that game.
Yeah, I remember the final.
I believe it was 82-8.
Yes, the final score was 82-8 when we were down 4-2 in that game. So what does our coach tell us? I don't even know what Bryant said at the halftime of that game. I can't even remember.
Did he tell us to hold back?
Maybe. We need to ask him next time. We got a chance to meet with him a couple weeks ago. We need to see if he remembers that.
It's stay on their throats.
Yeah.
Maybe
I can't remember either. But anyway, I will never forget that game that we won 82-8 against Anderson Highland. And that was an Anderson Highland team that, by the way, had a D1 player playing for them on JV and Gary McGee. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. So
he was on that JV.
He played JV. He played JV in that game. Why? I don't know, but he did.
Oh, that's even worse than the Kimba shot, maybe, for Gary McGee. Lose by 74.
I don't know. That Kimba shot is living in infamy, and I don't know if outside of Dusty and I don't know who remembers 82-8 in a JV basketball game. But shout out Grambling State. My gosh, that's incredible.
Sends a message. Tell all your friends. Grambling State women's basketball.
Very much so. We're going to have to get a Grambling segment going forward here from here on out, talking about their women's basketball team if they're going to continue to do this. Dusty, your team, your wagon from the first 72 hours.
I have one of each as well.
Okay.
Talking about halftime speeches, Presbyterian. Big one over Carolina College. And again, I was trying to get creative instead of saying the normal ones, right?
Sure.
Only up 25.5. No, sorry. Only up 19.5. Got an ass to in the locker room, I imagine. Came out and outscored Carolina Christian College 73-17 in the second half.
Oh,
yeah. 120-45 final.
I don't know if you saw the picture of this, but so Carolina Christian came in and did you see what jerseys they wore?
No.
They wore I don't even know if this was like a wardrobe malfunction or they brought the wrong jerseys, but they brought reversible jerseys to wear for a Division I basketball game because that's what they had available.
Does anyone know? Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Does anyone know Presbyterian's mascot? I did not know this till right now.
Yes, the blue hose, baby.
What is a blue hose?
You want to find out?
I'm Googling it right now. Blue hose. Which I'm sure some joke there, but I will not make it.
So because of the blue socks or hose that they wore in the early 1900s, sports writers would use the term stockings and hose interchangeably, and thus the name, which reflects the college's Scottish heritage. I love it.
Shout out the Blue Hose.
Blue Hose, baby, all the way. Okay, so Dusty loves Presbyterian. What was there a second one you said?
Yeah, well, my not dud. What's the word we're using?
Jalopy.
This will be very, very, very quick. My jalopy of the week is a school that I actually lost to when I was at Kentucky. It's simply San Diego for losing at home to Ryder.
Oh, wow. How did I know you were going to try to get that in there at some point?
I have a good research team over here. This was on the run.
Yeah, San Diego did lose at home to Ryder. That was it was like a last second shot too. I think it was like a 2-point game or something. All right, since we're on jalopies, San Diego on the jalopy list. Nick, who's your jalopy?
You mentioned earlier, Robbie. I was somewhat high on them. Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Weird opening night. They beat Tennessee Tech by 5 points. They trailed early in the second half, but they kind of were in control the whole second half. But still, their starters were a whopping 0 of 12 from 3 in this basketball game.
Oh.
One guy had 4 threes. Now it's all the 4 threes they hit off the bench, and they shot 61% from their free throw line. So just tough. They got the dub. Can't forget that, but just a tough game one for the Bulldogs and Mike.
Tennessee Tech's not a terrible team. They're usually in the running for. I think they're in the Ohio Valley. Yeah, they're in the Ohio Valley. Yeah. I know their baseball team's usually always really good, but yeah, I was kind of shocked at how close that game was because Georgia, again, coming into the season, had a lot of hype, and I'm not sure that first game gave a lot of confidence.
12 from 3 from your starters. That is a jalopy.
That's bad.
That's pretty hard to do.
That's bad. They were fortunate to win that game then. I remember watching those highlights, and it was like, I don't know if Georgia's there. Simply put, my jalopy is Villanova. I mean, come on, guys. You losing to Columbia, that's unacceptable. So, it's amazing that, Villanova, as Nick mentioned at the start of the show, perennial Final Four team year in and year out. Heck, they have a freaking NBA team out there 5 years ago, and now they're where they are right now. It's shocking how bad that they've fallen. So, Villanova, get your act together. Or don't. Do what you want. It's not my place to say what you guys are going to be in the future, but yeah.
Real quick on jalopy, they go Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week.
Yeah,
that's a weird schedule to start the year.
Wild, very weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that.
I don't either. So, there's your wagon and jalopy. Okay, let's highlight a best player from the first 3 days. Nick, I want to start with you. I've got a couple, but I want to go with you first on your guy because you've got 2, but one for a different reason. I know.
Yeah. First off, we'll go happy first. Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Oh, my gosh.
Pod through and through, right, Crab? We love him. We love his weird run. We love his faces he makes. 49-11. 49 points, 11 rebounds in a game they really needed him to produce, too.
Yeah.
It was a tight one for Creighton. And shout at Jared Benson on Twitter for the stat. Here's the tweet. Prior to the night, the last player was 20 field goals and 90% shooting in a Division I game. Bill Walton, R.I.P., in the 1973 National Championship. So
wow.
Kalkbrenner just brought the boom, right, Crab? Any comment on that?
That's an amazing performance.
Well said. If they don't get that from Kalkbrenner, I don't think they win that game.
Agreed.
And Stephen Ashworth also 17 for 17 from the free throw line in that game.
He is very good. And then I'll go to my not so happy news. A guy we actually all love is Pod Robbie Avila.
Oh yeah.
Remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who transferred from Indiana State to St. Louis, got hurt in the opening game for St. Louis, who also lost to Santa Clara, by the way.
Oof.
But they also lost him. He's going to be out for a couple weeks with an ankle. Hopefully he's back soon. Ankles are tricky, especially for a center. So that just sucked to see us drop the year. Yeah,
and St. Louis, they're going to still have a lot of hype. I think they'll bounce back. They're still kind of getting their feet wet under Josh Schertz. But, bummer to see Robbie Avila go down in the injury. They said it was, at some point, I think someone may have said a season-ending injury. So now it's only probably a significant ankle injury, which he could come back from, which that's better than season-ending, but still sure. Definitely concerning. All right, I've got 2 as well. I'm going to go to the Big Ten. 2 guys that I want to shout out. I don't know if you went back and watched the highlights of Illinois' win over Eastern Illinois, but Will Riley, that's going to be a dude for Illinois. He finished with 31 points, 7 rebounds. He's a 6'8 freshman. Just glides, long, lanky, was impressive from 3. I mean, as much as I don't want to give Brad Underwood credit, this Illinois team could be a major problem in the Big Ten this year, and they've got some dudes, and it's a brand new team, basically. They really don't return much from last year because they basically just raided the portal and tried to play off of that. They got Kylan Boswell there as well now. I mentioned Will Riley, obviously. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, an Indiana native. He finished with 21 points in the game. So it's going to be an Illinois team that you don't recognize because they have brand new players from last year compared to last year's team. But a lot of those parts seem to work really well in that opener. So keep an eye on Illinois. And I got to shout out IU. How about MACKENZIE MGBAKO? 31 points, 9 rebounds. If they can get that kind of an effort from MACKENZIE MGBAKO every time out, IU could be a team that's going to mess with a lot of people this year. And I watched most of that game just because I know we got a lot of IU people who do listen to the pod. I thought, I think they looked good towards the end and they finished it off and they got a good win. But this is a good time to talk about IU. This team is leaps and bounds better than last year's team. It's like it's not even a question that this year's team is so much better than last year's team. But I still look at the sidelines, and I still see who the head coach is, and I see how this team plays, and it looks like not much has changed from their offensive philosophy from last year to this year. That's what worries me about IU, and I think there's a lot of IU fans that would agree with me that this team looks the same in terms of how they play, but the talent is leaps and bounds better than where they were last year.
Yeah, Rob, this was kind of a tight game for a little bit.
It was.
It was tied with 4:49 to go in the first half, but I'm with you, Robbie. I talk on top. I love MACKENZIE MGBAKO last year. He looked great last night. Yeah, and I'm with you. We've talked about a million times the same questions we've had about IU pertaining mostly to what's on the sideline.
Yep. And if you want to bring up another bad mention, 6 for 16 from 3. Their starting guards were 0 for 5 from 3. MGBAKO, thanks goodness for him, he was 4 for 5 from 3 and really saved him from there. I do want to, though, shout out, how about Omar Ballo shooting 75% from the free throw line? Let's go, baby. Mm-hmm. We were going to be above 50% this year from the free throw line from Omar Ballo. I thought Trey Galloway was great in his role in that game. Luke Goody didn't do enough. He wasn't great shooting 0 for 2 from 3. But it seemed like this team's starting to figure out their roles a little bit. I thought Malik Purdue played a really good game too. But I like this IU team way more than last year. I just still worry about Mike Woodson being the coach. So that's my IU talk for there. Dusty, go for it.
I just want to add in Gabe Cupps, who played 21.6 minutes per game last year, only got 2 minutes in that game last night. So I think that's something. Because he's basically their point guard down the stretch last year. So maybe
he's going to get squeezed out, and I figured it would happen. Gabe Cupps is a solid player, but I'm not sure he's the kind of player that IU can use to be a guy that's going to take them to the next level. That's what Cannon Carlisle, Miles Rice did. Now, Cannon Carlisle did not play a very good game. 0.6 rebounds, 3 assists. Miles Rice was much more effective getting to the basket and getting to the free throw line. But yeah, and Gabe Cupps does look bigger. He was a twig last year. He looks bigger, but still, I think this team goes way farther with Cannon Carlisle, Miles Rice. So, Dusty, give me your best player to highlight from the first 3 days.
So, research team had to do some work. It's not best, so I wanted to highlight. So, it was Mr. Queen from Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you, research team. Do you guys remember from Loyola Chicago, Ty Johnson?
I don't think so.
I did not know. He's now a senior at UC Davis, and he is officially the James Harden of the NCAA. We're going to be following him closely.
Oh.
Close loss to Washington, 79-73. In 34 minutes, he had 35 points, and here's the Harden stuff. He took 38% of the team shots, 35 from the field. He took 20 points because he was 13 of 16 from the free throw line, 1 assist.
There we go.
Oh, but your boy Harden would get more assists, at least, though.
I know that, but that's the caveat is at the end you have to. It's the shooting metric, but then seeing him just have 1 assist. But my guess is he was putting the team on his back, just fell short at Washington.
I pulled up the box score. UC Davis had 23 made shots, 6 assists. That's it. 6 assists on 23 made shots, and still managed
roll the ball out, baby. Just roll it out.
and still managed to hang in there. Yeah, Ty Johnson, I don't know how you end up in Chicago, going from Chicago to UC Davis. That's an impressive jump to go there. But yeah, Washington was a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie. I was a little surprised at how just meh they looked overall. I know Danny Sprinkle's just getting that team off the ground, so we'll see. But yeah, a couple really good matchups that we enjoy from the first 3 days. Here is the upcoming weekend schedule, and guys, I know everyone wants to watch college football, but can we press pause on college football and take a look at this first weekend of college hoops? Because my gosh, Friday night, just sit back, relax, and watch North Carolina, Kansas, and Lawrence. That is going to be a doozy coming up from that one. Cincinnati Bearcats going to be at home against Morehead State. Alabama will have Arkansas State at home. Marquette hosting George Mason. That's a sneaky good game right there. And then New Mexico, UCLA. As much as I wanted it to be Steve Alford in New Mexico and going back to UCLA instead, it's Richard Pitino in New Mexico. That'll be in Westwood for that matchup. Other two matchups from that night, Army-Duke could be interesting. Army had a pretty decent team last year overall. Obviously, they gave IU a run for their money. And then Purdue will be at home against Northern Kentucky. If Purdue kind of messes around like they did with Corpus Christi, Northern Kentucky's a really solid team. Purdue better come to play in that game. The Boilermakers looked okay against Corpus Christi, but they're still trying to work in freshmen that I think are figuring out their roles. Braden Smith, by the way, I know as much crap as I got for Braden Smith, the dude had 15 assists, so not bad.
He was awesome
in that Monday game. So we'll see if the Boilermakers can continue their winning ways coming up on Friday night when they host Northern Kentucky. What are you going to say, Dusty?
Another one on Friday.
Okay, give me another one on Friday.
Fun one. That's depending on how many TVs you listeners have. UMass has been tougher than usual the last few years, and they're at West Virginia Friday.
Oh,
check out.
That's a tasty one. Okay, good find there.
Thank you.
Nice.
Frank Martin versus DeVries.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be fun. Okay, real good one there. Okay, yeah, keep an eye on West Virginia, UMass for that one. Saturday's matchups. You don't have to start you can start early if you want to. Tennessee, Louisville at the Yum Center. Get fired up for that one. Are we going to see this Louisville team kind of take off this year? Pat Kelsey era started off with a win over Morehead State. We'll see if they can keep it rolling. Other games, Bucknell, Kentucky. Wildcats looked pretty good in that first game of the season, and obviously Mark Pope seemed to have a good time. You might as well circle 7:30 p.m. ESPNU, Baylor, Arkansas. They're going to play that game in Dallas, so Baylor will have a chance to get more of a neutral site/home environment when they play the Razorbacks there. And then the other one later that night, might as well just keep the channel on ESPNU, because at 9:30 on ESPNU, Auburn, Houston. Oh, yeah. It's
one unreal Saturday slate.
Great Saturday slate of hoops. I mean, for a first weekend,
get the TVs out this weekend. Get the TVs
Get them all out, friends. It's going to be a great weekend of hoops. And then Sunday, a couple decent games.
Wait. I got one more.
You got one more?
You're still sober. Late Saturday, and drink responsibly, kids.
Of course.
Late Saturday. I'll be around midnight tip-off Eastern time, guessing. Boise State at San Francisco.
Oh, good one.
Ooh.
Boise State. We highlighted them in our mega preview pod. That's a team that could win the Mountain West and make a run this year. They still haven't won a tournament game, but they've been there every year. It feels like. So okay, possibility. I
They'll
love
be Dayton
that.
this year. They're always in Dayton, Robbie.
They're always in Dayton. Every year they're in the first four. They're in Dayton. And then Sunday's game, Eastern Illinois will be at IU, Arizona State at Gonzaga, and then I'm going to throw in this one that's going to then roll us into our locks of the weekend. Creighton was hosting Fairleigh Dickinson. We all know Fairleigh Dickinson being that team that's small, quick, and fast. So whatever the Kalkbrenner number of rebounds is, lock that in, baby. These are our locks of the weekend we have coming for you. Kalkbrenner is 7'1". FDU does not have a player taller that they're going to play above 6'7". So Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to hoover up those rebounds. I don't know what the player prop for rebounds is going to be. We'll wait till we get there on Sunday to post the lock of the week. But yes, Ryan Kalkbrenner go over rebounds coming up on Sunday. Nick, what's your lock of the weekend?
Robbie, there's been some animosity. It's like the elephant in the room between you, me, and Dusty. So I was trying to try and shovel that away a little bit. So that's why I'm taking the Boilers as my lock to start off this year. My first lock of season 2.
Yes.
Robbie. I just feel like Purdue, I think they're 1 of 13 from 3 at one point in the second half.
Yes, it was not good.
By 17 over the Islanders of Corpus Christi. Northern Kentucky lost to Florida State by 12, and Florida State's just been in flux for a couple years now. I think Boilers, they bounced back. Not to say they played horrible by any means,
sure,
but I think just a more crisp game in their second game, and give me the Boilers in the 18.5. Lock it.
Late 18.5. Lock that in, baby. By the way, one of my favorite things is, so Brian Newbert, who works for goldenblack.com, like is a journalist superstar. He kept calling Texas A&M Corpus Christi Texas A&M Corpus Crispy. So it kept making me hungry when he kept saying Corpus Crispy, because I was thinking of crispy chicken nuggets or something like that. So, all right, Dusty, give me your lock of the weekend.
I like of the week after some research, because I do so much. Air Force football has struggled a lot this year, so that fan base is hungry for a victory, right?
Wow.
So they host Jacksonville State at home, and they're 1.5 point underdogs at home.
Oh!
Give me the Gamecocks. Lock.
Oh, locking in the Gamecocks. Wow. All right. So -1.5 for Jacksonville State. They're playing at Air Force, correct?
Correct.
Interesting choice there. Okay.
This guy, beware.
I gotta find that. Let me find that game. Who was it? The Air Force. They almost beat Colorado State they did beat Colorado State last year. Is that right?
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
So, by the way, that Jacksonville State game is tonight. So Jacksonville State Air Force is tonight. So we get our first lock it in tonight. Dusty, Jacksonville State is a 1.5 point underdog. So you are getting points there. So how about Gamecocks on the road at Air Force? We will see what happens. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we get that locked in. +1.5. Bang. It's in. All right, so there's your first 3 locks. Again, we're going to keep track of these locks. We don't know what happened to Nick last year, but that's a 1-year thing. Nick's going to bounce back this year with his locks, right?
Well, Robbie, that's why I kind of apologize. Now I'm thinking here for taking your Boilers. I may just set you up for a tough Friday night, but no, season 2, I've grown up.
Yes,
I'm a sophomore. I feel better.
You're going to make that sophomore year jump. That everyone makes that year 2 leap.
Just ask Anthony Richardson. Everyone makes that year 2 leap. Mm-hmm. You need someone to believe in. No, Robbie, you believe in me. Steichen doesn't. You believe in me to make the year 2 jump.
I believe in you. I don't believe in Shane Steichen, but I believe in you, Nick, every single time.
See, you're my Shane Steichen, except you believe in me. So better year 2. Here we go.
I love it. All right, so we do want to make sure that you get in on our SpeakPipe, by the way. SpeakPipe.com/D1AndDonePod. You can send us voice messages that we feature on the air. We want to make sure we pushed it out, and we know people are a little timid about getting their voice on the air, so just make sure you hop in on that at some point coming into these next couple days. But I want to use this time to review the teams we love and the teams we hate from our preview pod and talk about them real quick. So for me, the team I love, we mentioned Baylor, did not go well. I also mentioned Kansas State. K-State, a good start to the season. As much as I loved seeing Coleman Hawkins not in an Illinois uniform, that warmed my heart. Coleman Hawkins did not have the best debut against New Orleans, unfortunately. He finished with 5 points and 9 rebounds. So not the best performance. But David Gasson, 21 and 15, was great. Doug McDaniel came off the bench and played pretty well for K-State. But the team I loved was great, Kansas State, not Baylor. And the team I hate, Iowa State. Oh, they played pretty well. They crushed Mississippi Valley State by 39, but still, I hate Iowa State. Play better basketball. Stop playing boring basketball. Maybe they'll play better basketball now that they're all old again. But Nick, your team you love, how about St. John's? Huh?
Took care of business.
Got it done.
They're a non-story. Nothing really talk about.
That's what's important. Kadari Richmond just got a 16. Mm-hmm. He was good, solid across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So
nothing to report. So again, another win from Nick Mills. I think we chop that up.
It's a new year, baby. But the team that you hate, UCLA, They dispatched Ryder with ease by 35 and got quite impressive scoring performances across the board, including Tyler Bilodeau, who finished with 18 and 6. 5 guys scoring 12 or more for them in that game. So I'm with you. Mick Cronin and I, just not my thing. So, but regardless, those are the teams we love and hated between us two. Dusty loved Gonzaga, obviously, but then he hates Purdue. They were okay. And then hates Arkansas. And I want to finish before we jump into our funnies of the week. What did we think about watching Arkansas and John Calipari?
I didn't watch it. Yeah, I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
Didn't want to.
I did not watch it either, but not because of my own doing. I share an apartment with my brother and his significant other. Me and Jake can get one TV because SVU is on the other one, and just Arkansas could not make the cut. So I actually did not see a second either.
Well,
So what made the?
yeah. What did make the cut then? What was on the TV?
We were splitting up NBA into 2 colleges at IU on, and what was the fourth one? Oh, he had a bet on some random Mountain West game. Who was it?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so that was my night.
Okay. 76-60 winners, Arkansas over Lipscomb. We mentioned it. Lipscomb's a team that was going to be kind of a pain to play against. And Arkansas got up by as many, I believe, as 17 in the game, or 18, or maybe it was 20. But it was pretty close in the first half, and then they pulled away from it. So it seemed like a pretty typical Arkansas performance. Outside, I think they used Big Z a little bit more. Zavonimir Visic, 12 points, 3 rebounds in the win. So we'll see if that does anything going forward.
Can I ask, Dustin, did I say you said you chose not to watch it?
I chose not to watch it. No, I was watching other stuff. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
It's always cool.
I'm glad we got that. Yeah. All right. So this is a good time to mention on Nick's Funny of the Week. What on earth was John Calipari doing at the end of that game, Nick?
You told his presser, right?
I sure am. His press conference. Just give a little primer before I play this for everyone.
Yeah, it was a lot of just weird, just like one-liners that really didn't mean a whole lot. It was just a very, it wasn't even classic Cal, I thought.
No.
It was, because he's usually like, doing this whole spiel, kind of charismatic, saying a lot of just random stuff. I don't know how to explain it without you just playing it, Robbie.
Let's play it. Let's let it go in its entirety. 1 minute of John Calipari in his post-game press conference.
How about this thought? Make a 3. Takes me out every time I make a mistake. No, I don't. CBS is covering the game.
Threes. But
Because the guy wants, I'm going to start this. Give it to Jimmy. He has to come back. No, he doesn't. I have not watched that game. It's too late. I was in bed. What? Why would you do that? And as you get older, it really. So they called a timeout. Ooh. So you have no questions? Now that I
just waiting for you to stop talking.
What? Go block that ball. How about that statement?
My favorite part was the what on earth? Like, was that Cal? Like, is he in ecstasy? Is he happy?
I was gonna say it's called acid, but I was gonna say the reporter. I love when he said, "What was his quote exactly?"
I was waiting for you to stop talking so I could ask a question.
Yeah, like Cal had like a weird smile, deranged look on his face the whole time. It was. I don't know what to say. Acid, like Dusty said.
Who knows what it was? So that was Nick's Funny of the Week because John Calipari. Come on.
Well, that was not my Funny of the Week.
Oh yeah, no, they're funny.
I'm sorry, the pre-funny. Give me the full funny.
Yes, the other nominees I just want to shout the duck in the Providence student section. If no one saw this, a literal duck in the student section. So shout out Providence. The dunk's the best. My second nominee that did not win was for Memphis basketball. Did anyone see this? Tyreek Smith announced he's transferring hours before the game because of uncertainty regarding his NIL deal. And the reason I bring that up, just Memphis basketball, they just keep having stuff like this happen. It does not end with them. God bless them.
Yeah, Tyreek Smith enters transfer portal for the fourth time amid rumored NIL disputes. Fourth time.
There's always something going on with them.
Jeez.
Always something.
Unreal.
But the funny of the week, it has to be everything to do with Baylor Gonzaga. There's so many things funny about this. First of all, college basketball kickoff with a top 10 matchup was at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time following Monday Night Football. This game did not end until 1:20. And because of that, this game, again, this premier top 10 matchup, did not start on ESPN or ESPN2, on ESPNU. That's the only time you could watch it when it first started, because ESPN2 was Monday Night Football coverage. So nice, it's insane. But then the funniest part, obviously, Mr. Joe Few got some nepotism guy checked into the game towards the end. Gonzaga's up 1,000,000 points. VJ Edgecombe scored 4 points, half of which half of his points were on Joe Few. Just annihilated him. It was so funny. It's like at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. You're getting dunked on. It's so good. It's so funny too. Edgecombe had 4 points. What? By the way, why is he in the game? At this point, is beyond me.
Because he's a freshman, I guess. I don't know. But my favorite part, by the way, was when Jay Williams said after that dunk, "Welcome to the game, Joe." We had that on our intro and our open, so you're going to enjoy that.
Funny, after Scott Drew, this is quote for quote, basically said, "Yeah, it looked like Gonzaga, or we had one starter returning, and Gonzaga had 8 to 9 starters returning." I don't know if he knows this, but there's only 5 starters on a basketball team.
There's only 5, Scott.
He said 8 to 9, so take that what you will. So everything about Gonzaga, Baylor was drunk, so they're the funny of the week for sure.
Love it. That's fantastic. So there's your Knicks funny of the week, going multifaceted across the board. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dusty, wrap it up around the campfire. A little story time with our D1 superstar, Dusty Mills.
So this one's actually a relatively short one, but kind of a funny one at the same time to add to the last topic. And I'm trying to remember because I have to go back and make sure I'm not telling the same stories, even though we'll have new listeners. So my first open gym, I walk on to Kentucky on a Wednesday, I believe it was. I practiced with the team Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Actually went to the Cincinnati Reds game for my dad Friday night. That's where I think I told before he gave me a huge warm embrace and just kind of high-fived our older brother.
Nice.
And so I get a text that night, "Hey, are you still in Lexington?" I said, "I'm in Cincinnati." They said, "Okay, you need to come to open gym tomorrow. The guys want to play with you or want you to play," right? So kind of nervous, as you can imagine. So get to open gym, and I'm there for about an hour, can't get into a game. Finally, as people were starting to wind down, some people were like, because Kentucky football had a game that day, so players started to leave. We still had a pretty good unit in there. They don't know the 2 names, I say. So I get in the game. As you can imagine, again, I know it's open gym, but a little fidgety. Never actually played with these guys. I think it was the third possession. Alex Legion is coming at me full speed, and my thing would be to try and go down and strip guys that were that tall. And I'd seen Legion play. I didn't know that he could tomahawk dunk it.
Oh no!
And it was the one time I was a Fuse kid. It was the one time in my life where not just dunked on, but I hit the ground. Mortifying, right? And now, everyone's like, "Oh, I can't imagine what they're thinking." I got my revenge in the most more embarrassing way ever, but the team didn't know it. About 2 or 3 minutes later, someone on our team gets a steal, hits me on an outlet. So I'm going down on a 2-on-1 fast break. Ramon Harris is coming down, and then I think it was Michael Porter was on the right. And I'm dribbling with my left hand, and I go to pass it, and like a chest pass around him, and the ball slips out of my hand, and it goes between Ramon Harris's legs to Porter, and he lays it up, and everyone's like, "Holy, this kid can play!" It all slipped out of my hand. But from there, kind of smoothed into things, felt more comfortable, and all took off from there. So I needed that moment after having a very embarrassing moment So that was my first ever open gym with the team. And then started to become friends with all of them after that.
So look at this Dusty. Look, did you see that pass that Dusty guy made? Oh my gosh, this walk-on's incredible.
They look like Jason Williams. Oh!
Oh!
That's like I feel like that's kind of like I feel like we all have like a signature basketball moment that we feel like that we're on top of the world, where like we thought we were the best player on the court at the time. Now mine was peaked in 8th grade, but I feel like we all have kind of that moment is like, yeah, I was a big deal in that time. So there was Dusty's moment right there. I love that. What a great story.
Thank you.
Between the legs pass, shout out.
Oh my gosh.
It was just like, I'm sure if it was on film anywhere, they're like, oh, damn, okay. Pick Maravich over here.
That's what I hate. Like, we don't have video of either of those plays to be able to relive those moments.
Yeah, I'm glad the Legion was down there, but it was a yam on me. So,
yeah, probably better that way.
I want to take us down memory lane with a shout out.
You okay?
Ready?
I'm ready.
Remember last year I used to give good historical stories. I have a good one that I found.
Oh boy.
So I went back to confirm it was 2005 when Santa Clara beat number 1 North Carolina. They actually beat them by 11. The game was in Oakland. That piqued my curiosity. They're playing in Oakland at the Pete Newell Challenge. You guys know who Pete Newell is?
Yeah, of course.
I do not.
So Pete Newell, who had died just 11 days prior to that, Canadian man, played basketball at Loyola Marymount.
Right.
He coached at one point for San Francisco, Michigan State, Cal, and even San Francisco baseball. He was the GM at one point for the San Diego Rockets, and at one point for the San Diego Lakers.
Wow.
So I know. Oh, the last great thing on him. He was Charlie Chaplin considered him for the role to play the film The Kid.
What? No kidding.
Charlie Chaplin? I mean, I've been reading about this guy during the show. He is fascinating. So,
wow.
Shout out.
Man, what a great story. And he won a national championship when he was the coach at Cal, right?
Yes. Coached the Cal team to Cal and also coached an NIT championship for San Francisco. So I'm trying to read.
Yeah.
His page is wild.
Right. And that, I mean, if you and that was in the 40s, I think. If you won an NIT championship, that basically was as good as an NCAA tournament championship back then. So yeah, Pete Newell, legendary coach, but had no idea about the connection to Charlie Chaplin. That's incredible.
Shout out the Charlie Chaplin mustache.
Indeed, that mustache, not any other mustaches. We don't condone any of those other ones. So, all right, that is a great. Go for it.
One more, Robbie.
Yes,
real quick. Well, we didn't mention it. Just we're out of time. Ohio State did beat Texas. That was another notable result. So, shout out to them for a good win.
Yeah, good start for Diebler and the Buckeyes beating a Texas team on the road. That Ohio State team.
Sure give him credit.
Yeah, that Ohio State team may not be bad. They look pretty decent. So. All right, that will wrap it up for our rapid reaction show here on the D1 and Done pod. It was a great way and an opportunity to kind of get this thing off the ground and talk a little college hoops from outside of just talking all the preseason stuff. But, man, these last 72 hours have been great. And as we mentioned, we went through that schedule. The weekend schedule looks fantastic with a couple real tasty matchups. So we will be back for another episode of the D1 and Done pod coming up in about a week and a half or so. We'll probably come back and we'll make Sunday pods a thing. But we want to get this one going and get this one out to all of you who love college hoops and also love the podcast. So for all of you tuning in, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all of you once again. For Nick Mills, for Dusty Mills, I'm Robbie Donahoe. Thanks for listening to the D1 and Done pod, and we'll see you next time.